Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Terry Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about the new moon in Aries on March 21st, 2023 at 10:23 a.m. Pacific time. What I'm going to do here today is talk about some of the transits and the aspects that are directly affecting this new moon. I'm going to talk a bit about a pattern that I have observed over the last few months. I'm going to talk about how this is going to directly affect you based on your rising sign. So I'm going to first talk about the transits, and then I'm going to go through each sign and talk about what house the new moon is going to be and what the environment will be for you based on whole sign Western astrology. If you don't know your rising sign, you can go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time of birth and location to determine what that rising sign is and the degree, which I think is very important. Even though we're talking about whole sign Western astrology for the sake of the larger group, as an individual, knowing the degree of your rising sign will be very powerful for you to determine where the other planets are, what kind of conversations the other planets are having during this new moon. So let's jump in. What I want to do is I want to talk about the idea that we're in a pattern right now. 2023 is a 7-year. The 7 in numerology represents a period of introspection from an intellectual point of view. So there's a less emotion attached to the analysis, the overview, the process of observing and evaluating what works and what does not work. I'm bringing up the idea that we're in a 7-year because the ruling planet of this new moon is Mars, and Mars moved into Gemini on August 20th, 2022. That date also reduces down to a 7. Mars, being the ruling planet of this new moon, rules the head. In Gemini, Mars has had an opportunity to really observe how I think, how I speak, how I interact with others. Normally, kind of Mars is sort of a let's get it done energy, let's just move along, and not always the most concerned with how Mars's energy lands on others around it. So what we've seen is Mars transiting Gemini for 7 months, and Mars is still in Gemini as I record this video. And it will move into Cancer on the 25th of March. So this is going to be a time for Mars to start to incorporate what it has observed, learned, and recalibrated in the way it interacts with others. So let me kind of back up here because there's so much pivotal, important opportunities in the month of March. We already know that Saturn has moved into Pisces, and Pluto will move into Aquarius just a few days after this new moon on the 23rd. So here we have the spring equinox on the 20th. We have the new moon on the 21st. We have Pluto moving into Aquarius on the 23rd, and Mars moving into Cancer on the 25th. We are all going to feel this energy in ways that we can't quite describe. And the idea that Mars and Pluto are both changing signs in the month of March, and I've already done a video on the Saturn moving into Pisces and Pluto moving into Aquarius, so please check that out. It's very detailed for your spring time energies and the opportunities there. But let me say it this way. Both Mars and Pluto co-rule Scorpio, and Scorpio rules a deep psychology, an imprint of how we operate in relation to others, whether we are powerful or disempowered in many ways. It is a hugely transformational sign. So what I believe has been happening is that as Mars has moved through Gemini and then retreated back and then moved forward again, having to be involved with other people constantly, having to, work in a way with others to move Mars's story forward. So normally Mars is like, let me just go out, get it done, move my story forward. I don't need anybody. Now Mars is realizing that's not true. We are working in a cooperative, co-creative dynamic here, dimension within our universe. And while we are very much the masters of our own manifestations, we also, through inspiration and through encouragement, align with others to support that vision. And this is kind of funny. It's why I picked this background today, because I feel like we are standing on one side of a bridge. And we have an opportunity as we traverse the emotional body, the waters you see, to move in onto a new chapter on the other side of that bridge. And it's the dawning of a new day and a new era. So let's talk a little bit about all the planets that are traversing the sign of Aries right now. We have Jupiter's been there for a while. Now we have the sun and the moon at this 0 degree, almost the first degree of Aries. And we've had a series of new moons at the first degree. First it was Aquarius, then Pisces, and now we have Aries. And we will have a solar eclipse at the end of April 19th at 29 degrees Aries. So this is very, very powerful energetic opportunities to be aware of our unconscious patterns, and then instead of judging them or feeling regret by them, using them as a piece of information to move our story forward. I'm an Aries rising, and I'm extremely when I have an idea, I get very passionate, and I move and I just start talking as if everybody's going to jump on the idea with me. And sometimes I don't realize how I can dominate a situation or talk too much. Or maybe you do know that from watching my videos. But my point is this: Aries going through Gemini is become aware of how it talks. It's becoming aware of giving somebody else a platform. It's become aware of its thinking, of how much it spends time thinking about the resentments and the angers that it and frustrations it has. So now moving the story forward and having Jupiter, the planet of beliefs, the planet of expansion, the planet of broad ideologies and philosophies, moving through its sign, Chiron, where my wound has been, where I feel a sense of myself has not been acknowledged, moving through Aries. Now Mercury, that rules Gemini, is moving through Aries. And of course, again, the sun and the moon. So we have 5 planets representing these energies that give us an opportunity to really take this new awareness, this powerful opportunity to align my energies and my thoughts and my way of being in a new way to manifest my dreams. That's what I was talking about with the bridge, standing on one side of the bridge where it looks like such a long journey to my dreams. And the new day is dawning, because as I'm aware of how I land on other people, I start feeling more supported and encouraged in this journey than I do feel alone and isolated, because that can be very much a Mars energy, an Aries energy. Also want to comment that Aries rules the head. So on some level, it rules how I think. We don't really think of that, because we think of the Mars energy as just pushing forward in a sort of instinctual way, which is very true. But as Aries has become, or as Mars has gone through Gemini, it's become more aware of how it thinks and how much time it spends thinking about solutions or problems, about being happy or being annoyed and angry. And this is for all the signs, because at the same time, we've been watching Pluto in Capricorn doing the deepest of excavations in the old patterns, historic structures that we have built our lives upon as humans. So now we get an opportunity to really start to move into this. And I love to say the Aquarian age, because it's not a period of time. It's an attitude of thought. It's a liberated, innovative, inventive way of thinking thinking. And now we're going to root this into our material world. We have the new moon as it makes this square to Mars in its last degrees of Gemini. It's this, I believe that a square is sort of like this fork in the road. There's an old habitual way of believing, thinking, and operating. And then there's this new conceptual way. And this new way is not completely rooted yet. So here we see this opportunity as Mars squares this new moon and Neptune. Neptune is also squaring the new moon. Neptune is at 25 degrees Pisces. So I'm sorry, squaring Mars. The new moon and Neptune are both squaring Mars. So this is an opportunity to get brave about any self-deceptions, any ways that I'm holding myself back, any ways I may think I don't care about who thinks this or that. And yet on some level, it's not about caring about the individual, but wanting to represent value to those around me and the outside world, which then makes me feel fulfilled. So I think this is super important because as Mars moves into Cancer, which it's not its favorite sign, Mars feels quite, Mars is in fall in Cancer, but as a result of its 7-month stint in Gemini, starting August 20th, 2022, it started on a 7-day, a day where Mars is willing to be more introspective and more aware of its behavior so that it can move its story forward with the support and engagement of others versus the resistance of others. So I think this is very powerful because Mars is going to practice being more aware of the emotions of others and how Mars nurtures others through listening to their opinion or giving life to their emotional body. So Mars is getting an opportunity to shift this Cancer energy from feeling as if it's struggling to, fire and water create steam, okay? But steam also takes the wrinkles out. So I feel like this is where we're starting to master everything. Our awareness is giving us an opportunity to choose where we're going to fall within the dualities of what these planets represent. So let me see what else I wanted to say. Okay, let's jump in now to each sign. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Aries, representing Aries rising. I also believe you should check your moon. The moon represents our emotional body, our ability to nurture ourselves, and what we really truly believe about ourselves, because our emotions, when we feel doubt or we feel trepidation or we don't feel lovable, we walk differently down the same path as somebody who feels lovable, confident, and supported. So I think the moon is super, super, super important, on a par with your rising sign. Also, then we can go into the sun. And if you have a stellium, which is 3 or more personal planets in any one sign or house, this is very indicative of a focus your soul has chosen in this lifetime. So all of this will tell you a story and give you a picture of how these aspects are going to affect you. Today, we're going to focus in on the new moon and the Gemini house for you, because Mars ruling this new moon is really giving me an idea of where Mars has been spending time, what house it's been spending time in. So for Aries, it's your 3rd house. For Taurus, it's your 2nd house. So that's where we're going to go and how it's going to work. Again, whole sign Western astrology. So Aries, the new moon is in your 1st house. So we are really looking at how you have been asserting yourself, how you have been taking action, and how you have been representing your passions and giving you an opportunity to rebirth yourself at this new moon. You have looked at the wound that you have experienced through Chiron. You have looked at your opportunities for expansion, and in some ways where you have maybe allowed your beliefs and your sense of feeling alone let it dominate you in the past, and now you're willing to have a more open and cooperative viewpoint to moving your story forward. Because this transit of Chiron and Jupiter, we just saw Venus going through Aries, and now we have Mercury. So Venus was representing, how do I want to feel comfortable? What is my confidence level? Mercury again is now asking you to re-examine how you think. What are those little bits of information that get stuck in your throat that may be very, very true, but they no longer serve you to chew on them? This is what I think is the opportunity now, because Mars has been going through your third house, and the third house represents what I think, what I speak, what I read, but it also represents how I interact with other people. It's my everyday environment. It's the roadways I drive on. It's the teams that I work with. It's the my siblings and my cousins. So it's been giving you a real opportunity to examine that. And rather than to villainize yourself or feel a sense of having to give up your power to another, I really believe that Jupiter and Chiron have been giving you an opportunity to express deeper passions. And in those passions, also realizing that other people have passions. And when you give them the platform to express their passions, they are more willing and more excited to give you a platform to express your passions. So this environment, this new moon, is not just affecting your first house, it's being influenced by your third house as well. And so this is a really exciting time to start to walk across the bridge of your emotions, to be aware of your emotions and to be aware of other people's emotions. And those emotions and my awareness of them doesn't mean I have to have a solution. It doesn't mean I have to be a hero in their life, but just to allow myself to take one step forward towards a new chapter, towards a new landscape of where I want to experience. And that is working as a independent nurturer of ideas while I work with others to support a bigger picture of things. That's the way I want to put that. Okay, Taurus rising. This new moon is going to be in your 12th house. Aries is your 12th house. And Mars has been traversing your second house for the last 7 months. And the 12th house represents a place where we really don't see ourselves. The 12th house is known as the house of self-undoing, the house of troubles, because it's a place where self-deceptions and illusions can sometimes dominate. It's where we don't want to see a darker truth that is affecting us. We want to kind of pretend it's not there and hope it gets better. And Taurus, being a fixed sign, can very much take this 12th house energy and be operating on an ancestral platform where your soul has experienced things repeatedly and you're not even aware of it, okay? And so Uranus, as it's been transiting your 12th house, is giving you an opportunity to liberate yourself from that dynamic. And this new moon is going to illuminate the new chapter as you are brave in being willing to look at where maybe you have been rigid or stubborn, because your Gemini, being your second house, is the house of where you make money. It's the house you naturally rule, and it is your voice. So we're seeing the new moon ruling the head, contributing to how you think, and now an opportunity to express your voice in a new way as you have become aware of being where maybe any anger or resentment has tripped you up. I'm a Taurus moon, and I can really get stuck in a loop of you done me wrong. And the 12th house, being your the house of Aries for you, is asking you to be brave in seeing that maybe, you're right about everything. Maybe people have done you wrong. Maybe you've not been treated fairly, but hanging on to that? Is it serving you? Is it moving your story forward? Is it actually anchoring you into a situation that doesn't serve you anymore? So this new moon is giving you an opportunity to really look at where your beliefs, Jupiter, where you've been wounded, Chiron, and how you think about it, Mercury, are either anchoring you into an old story or giving you an opportunity to move into a new chapter. Because this Gemini's second house, having Mars been transiting your second house, is giving you an opportunity to express your voice constructively, to see a sense of yourself that can allow for your own personal, how do I want to put it? I feel like Taurus, it's important for you to validate you. Oftentimes the human only counts the validation they get from others. And if we start to apply the laws of attraction, if we're looking outside of ourselves for validation, we're also having a resistance to our own personal validation, or we're putting a cog in the wheel. So I feel like this is super important for Taurus to acknowledge themselves. That 12th house is about, bringing what you can't see forward so that you can balance it and you can actually benefit from it. Again, Mars is squaring Neptune in Pisces, so there'll be an opportunity to really see where we've been giving our power away, or where we've been we don't want to see something. We don't want to acknowledge it. We want it to just fix itself. And that might not be serving us so much. All right, Gemini. This new moon is in your 11th house of networks, of social networks, big groups of people, but it's also the house of your hopes and your dreams. And I've really been keying into the idea that Gemini is at a fork in the road, and there's a lot of career changes coming up for you, or opportunities to change your public status into something that's more authentic to what you want to experience and what you want to birth into the world. Now, I wasn't really bringing up the Saturn moving into Pisces, but the Mars has been traversing your first house. That's a 1. And Gemini, this new moon is in your 11th house. That's a double 1. So to me, there's a lot going on, thinking about the permissions you give yourself to individualize yourself. The thing about Gemini is that, being a twin, it's the natural sign of cooperation with others. We don't always look at it that way. We don't always think about it that way. Yes, we think it's a social sign, and we think Mercury gives us information and moves along, but it is a sign, as are all the partnership signs, elements of how we interact with others. So this, to me, is about a bit of individuality. Seeing this series of 3 1s, 11th house and first house, Mars representing the first house in general, the self. How do I propel myself? How do I put myself forward? So I believe that this is a very powerful new moon for you to allow your hopes and dreams to become more a priority in your own life. And when I say that, I don't think it's a priority as if taking action. It's going back to how am I thinking about it. Mars rules our passions. There is a rebirth being offered here on like kind of a double dose, because Pluto's going to move into Aquarius. I just got chills everywhere. Aquarius naturally rules the 11th house. We have Saturn moving into Pisces, which is really asking us to start to master our own ability to co-create and to see where we are self-deceive, where we believe we are powerless, where we believe that if somebody else doesn't move this direction, we can't move that direction. And this is really about more alignment. So as Gemini becomes maybe not the master of thought, but the being willing to be aware of my thoughts, and are they serving me? Am I putting myself in the equation? Am I fueling my own hopes and dreams? Because again, this new moon is squaring Mars in Gemini, and this is that fork in the road between an old patterned habitual way of thinking and then this it's not quite rooted. It's a seedling. It's a new concept that I'm just starting to feel a sense of viability about. And I want to give this path, this new path, more energy, more time, more attention. And as you do that, I think you're going to be very excited about the actions that you're going to be inspired to take moving forward as we dig deeper into 2023. All right, Cancer. This new moon is in your 10th house. This makes Aries your 10th house. So this gives you an opportunity to start to really sit on the beginning of that bridge over here to traverse where you want to go moving forward. We have 5 planets in Aries right now, if you include both the sun and the moon on this day. It's a powerful day to take, Mars is going to move into your sign in hold on one second. Lucky. Sorry about that. My dog is doing something he shouldn't be doing. What I want to say for my Cancers is Mars moving into your sign is an opportunity for you personally to take action for yourself and to see how it benefits those that observe you. The 10th house is a very public house, and it is the opposite of your normal 4th house ruling house. So I feel like this is a real opportunity for you, Cancer, to be brave in what you plant, the seeds you plant, to be willing to see that you're self-nurturing, especially Cancer moons, to be willing to see that your dreams, your hopes, your passions, you're taking time to nurture those is really how you will nurture others in a much more powerful and succinct way. The Gemini energy is your 12th house. So you having Mars traversing your 12th house has also been giving you an opportunity to see where you have inadvertently, through a cooperative effort, or what appears to be a cooperative effort, because Gemini is cooperative, Gemini is duality, it's 2, where you have been inadvertently not asserting yourself. I feel like Mars couldn't be more frustrated than to be in 12th house energy and being able to think what I should do and not being able to really move the story forward. So I feel as this new moon is making a square to Mars in the final degrees of your 12th house before it moves into your 1st house. The square is also to Neptune in Pisces. So this is really an opportunity to see where maybe you've been cooperative to a point, or nurturing to a point, or empathetic to a point, or even have trepidation or fear about asserting yourself, that you will somehow lose. There will be a sense of if I put me forward, then I'm going to be abandoned by those that I care about. I think this has been a mirage. It's been an illusion. And I think as you start to step your story forward, the people around you will actually applaud you. And that's what you'll experience as Mars moves into your 1st house. It's not, again, traditionally Mars in Cancer is not the best energy, because there's counterintuitive of the nurturing of others and Mars being about the self. But I think that what we're rewriting as humans is that dynamic, that as we serve the self, we go into our energies with others in a much higher vibration and frequency. We're more excited, we're more enthusiastic, we're more passionate about what we're doing and the actions we're taking. So I think this is a real opportunity for you. And I think it's an opportunity for you to kind of, I want to offer it this way, because we also have seen Pluto in an opposition to you by nature for the last since 2008. So there's really been this strong energy of deconstruction. And I think this has been the deconstruction of fears, and fears that if I don't love you more than I love myself, then I won't get any love at all. And this is a very old fear-based human structure that we operate on, that we don't even realize we operate on. There's a lot of input, almost on a subliminal level, that this is a true dynamic, and it's the biggest illusion, from my point of view, of the human experience. So I think there's a lot of power here for you to sort of put some of your trepidations. I almost want to use the word, those mental, ghosts that haunt us, to put it to rest and to give it a sense of purpose through the wisdom as you acknowledge that feeling of, oh, I should put someone else first. And then you realize, oh, that's an old vibration. As I put myself first and I take this moment for me, I'm better able to serve whoever I love on the other side. Okay, Leo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. This is very powerful because Aries is your 9th house. And having 5 planets in the 9th house has been a real call to look at your belief system. And Leo, being a fixed sign, doesn't always want to move in a new direction. Our fixed signs are, they're kind of within each of the quadrants of the zodiac. The fixed signs are sandwiched between a cardinal and a mutable. So they're feeling like, I can't move. And that can get them a little, I want my space, I guess is the way I want to put it. So here for my Leos, I feel like this 9th house energy has been offering you an opportunity to really observe Jupiter, your belief system. Chiron, what wounds are you? This is kind of where I'm going. Sometimes with the 9th house, we think if we move to a new place, it'll change how we feel about things. But I don't know if that's true. Yes, if we move to a new place, 9th house ruling foreign activities, foreign people, foreign places, foreign experiences, this won't change the fixed energy unless Leo agrees to observe things from a new point of view, to not villainize an old point of view, but to incorporate new beliefs. What if now there are new opportunities for me? What if now I have an opportunity to plant the seeds for me to live a new experience in my everyday life? We have 5 planets, the sun and the moon. Mercury is in Aries now. Mercury is naturally rules the house that is the opposite of Jupiter's house. So here we see the high-minded Jupiter and the everyday thinking Mercury in the same house, giving us an opportunity to really identify Chiron's energy. Is your wound going to pull you and anchor you in and make you stubborn? Or is your wound going to give you an opportunity to rise above and rebirth yourself with new passions, with new vigor and intentions? Because this is very, very powerful, because your 11th house has been Gemini, and that's your hopes and your dreams. I could talk about networks, I can talk about social dynamics, I can talk about humanitarian events, but this, on my channel, this is about your personal experience and how your personal experience contributes to what you experience out here. So when you really give life to your hopes and your dreams and you get brave, because the 11th house, while it's Gemini, it's naturally the house that is opposite you. So there is a tension and a bit of fear often with putting yourself out on such a huge platform with your heart on the line. So here, I think this is a real opportunity as Mars is about to leave your 11th house, and Mars has been going back and forth, really asking you to look at how you are observing. How are you showing up in with your hopes and your dreams? Are you frustrated that your hopes and dreams aren't coming true? Are you willing to be aware that that frustration is an energy that is sending a ripple effect, that is a cog in the wheel? Because as you go back to looking at your beliefs, I believe everything's working out for me. I believe that my hopes and dreams are viable. And if for some reason that I don't see physical evidence, then I get to start to believe that there are things happening that I cannot see, that I can only feel. The 9th house by nature rules the connection to source energy, to the angelic realm, to that which we cannot see with our physical eyes. So Leo, this is a real opportunity for you during this new moon in Aries on the world axis. I didn't even talk that much about that because it's so powerful. But this month of March is setting a tone for your future. And it's not just for 6 months. It's not just for a year. It's setting the tone for a whole new chapter of experience, to change your life experience for, I want to say for the good, but I don't know that that's the right word, because good infers that there is bad. And I think all experiences give us an opportunity for choice and for definition and for refinement. So that's what I think is going on for you here. All right, Virgo, this new moon is in your 8th house of transformation. And the ruler of this new moon has been in your 10th house of work. Now, Virgo by nature, we think of as dependable, as practical, the sign of the zodiac that analyzes things, comes to some sort of I feel like I'm looking at data and coming to a conclusion and then basing my actions on that conclusion. Now we see Mars has been going through Gemini. Gemini is you both are ruled by Mercury. So this has really been an opportunity to get brave about what you believe is expected of you in your 10th house energies. The 10th house, it is a house of leadership. It is a house of public service. It's very visible to everyone. And I feel like one of the things about the Virgo energy that hasn't been acknowledged in a big way is that the Virgin rules Virgo. It's about new experiences. It's about giving us an opportunity to take off the shackles that have enslaved us to obligation and then look at our service to humanity in a way that offers us as individuals our own sense of self-worth, our own value, and then that takes us out into the collective so that we can have more empathy and understanding for other people wanting to have a sense of fulfillment and their own value. This is what I believe all of us have been experiencing moving forward towards through the Pluto's transit through Capricorn, and are now what I believe is the shadow period of the Aquarian age. And the Aquarian age is not a period of time because time is constructed by man. The Aquarian age is an attitude. It is a interior knowing, an inner knowing, where we take the inner and we bring it into the physical experience and feel the exhilaration of that. And that's what this new moon has to offer you in its transformation for you. If you think about the 8th house, it's the deepest house of psychology, the psychological imprint that lives beneath, it lives in the dark. And oftentimes those fears that live in the dark are how we end up inadvertently giving our power away or giving our sense of being able to build something, being able to depend on ourselves, we give it away. So now Aries being your 8th house is an opportunity to be brave in how you move your story forward. And Mars, the ruling planet of this new moon going through your 10th house, has given you an opportunity to really observe all the mercurial things. I know Mars has been going through Gemini, but this is about, we've got double Mercury energy with this, you're a Virgo, and Mars has been moving through the house of how you think in the public, and how that is perceived by the public eye. And if you have felt enslaved to other people's thought, this is an opportunity for liberation from that. And while it may not feel like an easy transformation, if we think about now, if Gemini is your 10th house, then Cancer is going to be your 11th house. And so you're going to get an opportunity to really, as Mars moves into your 11th house, take what you have garnished and start to foster your hopes and dreams in a way that actually is of service to others. I'm going to chime probably until the day I take my last breath that giving my wants and desires, putting them aside for somebody else to thrive, is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for resentment, anger. It's a recipe for feeling unloved, unseen. And so when we self-nurture, then we actually give space and have more space and time for others to feel our applause for their self-nurturing. So I really think it's important when we look at some of the signs that are very service-oriented to infuse this energy as the new platform for your manifestations, for your everyday life, for your hopes and your dreams. All right, Libra. Aries is your 7th house and Gemini is your 9th house. So the ruler of this new moon is in the sign of partnerships. But for a Libra, I think this is so fascinating because when you're a first house Libra and you're a 7th house Aries, it's about being able to express your individuality in balance and in harmony while in partnership with others, rather than giving that away. We also know that Venus is the ruler of your chart. So your voice, your desire to express yourself, to create harmony, to create peace, to create loving, warm, fun environments where everyone comes to your house and feels at home. This is super important, but it is also important for you to have a sense of individuality, of your own sense of that creation. So this is a really powerful time to set those seeds. 5 planets are traversing your 7th house. And Jupiter is asking you what you believe about your partnerships, both professional and personal. Where is your wound? Chiron. The wound of Chiron is the gift, because as you express yourself with a certain amount of individuality, you give your partnerships an opportunity to applaud your individuality, to applaud your vision of things, your creative expressions, because Gemini is your 9th house of beliefs. Okay. And so as Mars has been traversing this 9th house, and if we think about, here's Mars in the 9th house that Jupiter naturally rules, and Jupiter's been in your 7th house for almost a year now. It's just about to move into your 8th house. You're really getting an opportunity to assess how you view partnerships. And there's a part of me that feels like it's an either or. You know, it's been very polarizing. And now this is an opportunity to integrate, to take your partner on an adventure with you, an adventure of your own individuality. And Mars is asking you to be brave in your beliefs about that, to plant the seeds for new thoughts, and to, in some ways, dedicate yourself to those dreams every single day. I feel like that's where Mercury's coming in. I feel like Mercury's asking me to put daily doses of nutrients and things that fuel my sense of expression out in the world. Because, you know, to me, the most viable partnerships are when 2 me's become a we. So each person gets an opportunity to celebrate and to applaud their own individuality while working in tandem to create harmony and peace in partnerships, in cooperative dynamics. So I think this is very, very powerful for you. Scorpio, this new moon is in your 6th house. And Gemini is your 8th house. So we've been seeing Mars, the co-ruler of your sign, in the 8th house, which you naturally rule, asking you to look deeply into how you express your Martian energy. The 6th house is a house of enslavement. It is a house, you know, oftentimes the human is ruled by their wallet is ruled by their everyday work, and it becomes a vicious cycle. We can talk about health, we can talk about pets, but here I feel like this is much more about the individuality of you expressing yourself in a way. This new moon, with these 5 planets in this house of enslavement, this house of me feeling a sense of duty to others, and not necessarily feeling part of the mix. And I want to offer it this way because Pluto is your ruling planet, and Pluto has been, you know, going through, it's been going through a very intentional dynamic of deconstructing that which does not serve the reward that the house of Capricorn has to offer. So often, all we see in the house of Capricorn, and when we talk about Saturn, is the, you know, repressed, limited, authoritative, governmental, you know, trickle down BS of other things, the government, blah, blah, blah. Here, I really believe it's about us starting as souls inhabiting a human experience to be the gatekeepers of our own leadership, of our own sense of standing tall. So the reason I'm saying all of this is because with Scorpio, with this new moon being in Aries, and you having, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Jupiter, and Chiron. And we just had Venus traversing through Aries. So you've been really taking a look at how you are perceived in the work environment. How are you perceived in, with your client base? Or if you're an employer, how are you interacting with your employees? And being able to come at this from a much more intentional place where we transform the Aries energy from the warrior banshee to the hero. But the hero is not here to save the other person. Now the hero is here to empower the situation so that everybody has opportunities to stand in that power. Because this is where I think that Mars going through your 8th house of Gemini has been giving you a real opportunity to see how you interact and land on others. Scorpio is a very intense energy, and your awareness of that intention makes you more powerful because you know when to put the gas on and when to put the gas off. So there's a real strong opportunity at this new moon for Scorpio to take the planets that rule your sign because they are so powerful here. Pluto is making an aspect to this new moon. This new moon is ruled by Mars. It's in this house of enslavement for you. And this will also, as you are aware of your own deep psychological imprint, this will help you incorporate this information in a way that will allow you to feel less stress. I want to offer it that way. And that might also help transform things a bit for you as you're willing to see that the up is fabulous and the down is even better, because the down is where you garnish resources and information that takes you up to the next level that's even more powerful than it had been before. Okay, hope that made sense. Sagittarius, the Aries energy is in your 5th house. And this new moon is about, really birthing a part of yourself that's brave and courageous to express your heart. And I'm not so sure that this is about expressing it to others as much as it's about expressing it to yourself, because the Gemini energy is your 7th house, and Mars has been traversing your 7th house, which many people may think you've been experiencing a lot of challenges and trepidations and arguments in your 7th house energy and in your partnerships. But I almost feel like this might be a little bit about the partnership you have with the monkey mind. And as your 1st house, is Sagittarius, this is an opportunity to start to think in broader ways. Jupiter is your ruling planet. Jupiter has been in your 5th house. Chiron's been in your 5th house. We now have Mercury there and the sun and the moon, planting new seeds of thought for you to expand, to transform your wound into a gift and allow yourself to birth a new creative dynamic within yourself. And in doing so, this gives you an opportunity to truly feel a sense of bravery and almost a heroic energy within your partnership sector, because you are now the energy that identifies your needs, yourself, your own self-expression, and you're doing it in a more harmonious way. You're doing it in a way, I want to say, that is not, Sagittarius is mutable, but here I feel like it's not about being so mutable in that 7th house energy as much as understanding the broader concepts of how your individuality supports your partnerships and your individual thought. Understanding, Sagittarius, that while the broad concepts are great, we also do need the detail to get those broad concepts implemented into the 3D world. So I think there's going to be some real powerful energy, because as Mars moves out of your 7th house and into Cancer, your 8th house, you're going to have an opportunity to start to take the transformational energy of the 8th house. And now Mars has some awareness of how important our emotional body is. It's becoming more empathetic. So in that empathy, it's feeling less thwarted, because if we think about Mars being stuck in one sign for 7 months, and it started on August 20th, 2022, which was a 7-day. And now we're experiencing this in a 7-year. There's a lot of opportunity for Libran Libran energy to be the platform for how we assess and how we analyze the most recent experiences, and then we take that Mars energy into Cancer with more empathy of the human experience and the emotional dynamic that the human feels. And so Mars becomes more powerful now. Mars becomes more aware. So it's actually swimming through these waters much more succinctly than it may have done in previous chapters. All right, Capricorn, we are seeing this new moon in your 4th house, and we know that Mars has been traversing your 6th house of Gemini. So we have the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Jupiter, and Chiron all in your 4th house of home, giving you an opportunity to really, Pluto's there. Pluto's been in your 1st house. So Pluto squares your 1st house squares your 4th house. So there could be this, what has been one of the most challenging things for you as you've had this 1st house deconstruction, is seeing how it aligns with your family dynamic, with the history of where you come from. Because I feel as if when I look at this new moon being in your 4th house, it's really giving you an opportunity to take the courageous elements of the Aries energy, and rather than being, let me back up. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Now, this is an interesting dynamic because Mars, it wants to move forward very quickly. Capricorn and Saturn want to hold back, take their time, review the history of things. It's because I believe that Saturn is representing Yoda and Mars is representing Luke Skywalker. And in order for Mars to be a very powerful and very intentional hero energy, it gets to look at how it has in some ways contributed to some of the challenges it experiences. So here, this is where I'm going. Having your 4th house energy, having this new moon in your 4th house gives you an opportunity to plant seeds for a new experience with how you perceive yourself within the 4th house energy. It's giving you an opportunity to look at the Mars energy that's been in your 6th house of Gemini, and how you interact and how you are dutiful to others, and now rewriting that story, because as you are aware of this, you can start to assess if you're standing in leadership for yourself and what is most authentic to you and what makes you feel at home, Capricorn. We can never forget. We have an opportunity. I hate the words must and need. We get to remember that 4th house of Cancer, where it naturally rules, which is your Aries house, is the house of not just the family and not just the family experience, but how we nurture ourselves and how we use our intuition, our inner voice. Do we pay attention to it? So you have a real opportunity to get brave here and to look at now whatever wound you've experienced that Chiron represents. You now get to transform that into a gift, because Pluto's been offering you that since 2008. And now we are at that very anaretic degree, that master 29 degrees in your 1st house. And as Pluto leaves your 1st house and then goes into your 2nd house, and then back, when we get into July, June, we get into June, Pluto's going to move back into those last degrees of Capricorn. So this planting of this new moon into your hopes, your desires, your dreams, your own sense of individuality as you move through the process of deconstructing whatever family dynamic, whatever perceptions you have of duty and obligation that have limited you or made you feel restricted, and then see how when you lift that restriction, you're actually unraveling lifetimes of duty, lifetimes of feeling a sense of the whole is greater than the individual, and the individual is actually a part of the whole. And if each individual feels insignificant, then the whole feels insignificant. So this is a rewriting of all of that, and an ability to unlock and to release ourselves from that enslaved energy that doesn't really serve. It's that old, when I go into that sixth house for you and I see it being Gemini, it's like an old way of thinking about everyday activities, an old way of being, an old way of teaching our children, an old way of speaking, an old way of processing our thoughts. And now we're being completely liberated. So this is really fabulous. So this is going to be such a powerful new moon, so much more so than we've seen in previous times. Aquarius. Aries is your third house. So this activity that's been going on in your third house with Jupiter and Chiron transiting this for quite some time. Jupiter's been, almost a year in Aries. Chiron's been there much longer. And the sun and the moon and Mercury are now Mercury's been there for a bit. The sun and the moon making their debut at the 0 degree. It's about planting new seeds for how you process your uniqueness inside of your everyday activities, how people process you. When I think about the third house, I think about, going to school, going to work, having to interact with other people at the market, my mailman, the people walking down the sidewalks with me, the construction that may be happening on the sidewalks. There is a opportunity for you to really plant seeds, to be aware of how you process your own sense of feeling alienated or different from others, and then starting to embrace that difference as an invitation to others to connect with you in a more clear and direct way. Because when I look at the idea that Gemini is your fifth house, and I look at the idea that Mars has been transiting the house of self-creation, the house of self-pleasure, the house of self-enjoyment. When I say self-pleasure, that sounds a little funky to me, but in any case, the way I want to impress upon Aquarius that there is a new beginning at hand. And as we are about to see Pluto move into your first house, we are going to see invention. We're going to see celebration of character, of thinking about not just others in a way of how can I be of service to you, but how can we be of service to all of us that actually serves each one of us as an individual. That's the beauty of the Aquarian energy. It sees the humanitarian dynamic and it sees the big picture, and at the same time it pushes past that big picture for a new big picture, a new invention. So I think this is what's going to be taking place for Aquarius as you plant the seeds in this third house for a new experience within your everyday life, and I think even in your everyday thoughts, in your when I look at the idea of working with others, you may even start to feel more excitement about working with other people as you feel an alignment to your innovation, to your, I kind of think of it's like when I get to talk to people about astrology, I get really excited. And most of the people I know don't really respond to astrology in any deep way in my personal life. Okay. So when I interact with my community here on YouTube, or when I talk with other astrologers, I get super excited and I get super jazzed about what's happening and what's the possibilities moving forward. So I think that might be what's happening as well. New creative endeavors, the seeds for new endeavors will be planted. And as you have experienced Mars, and maybe Mars has felt a little frustrated in your fifth house, because it's not been able to birth things as succinctly or as broadly. There is something really more about, when I think about Mars traversing Gemini, it's about Mars being more aware of how their thoughts, how their actions, how they speak is landing on other people. And are you engaging people in your vision, or are you disengaging them? So when we think of Aquarius, you're so inventive that sometimes other people may take a minute to catch up with your ideas. So you being aware of Mars's energy in your fifth house of everyday human thinking gives you an opportunity to be brave as you allow other people to catch up with your innovative ideas. That's where I'm going with that. All right, our final sign, Pisces. I can't help but say, welcome to Saturn in your first house, because this is a real opportunity to master so much for you. So as we see Aries being your second house, this is going to be about being brave to plant the seeds that are being offered to you to use your voice, your creativity, and to examine your self-worth. How much are you allowing your own pat on the back to mean something? This feels very powerful to me because here I believe Saturn, and I know I've done a separate video on this, but I must bring this into play because there's no way you're not feeling this right now. Saturn is right now at the I think the 1st degree of Pisces. That's the Aryan degree of Pisces. So this is about being brave, about recognizing that you're a mutable sign that represents compassion and empathy. And sometimes the most compassion we can have is to have an Aryan energy about letting other people do for themselves. The 2nd house rules our family history. It's a money house, and Gemini is your 4th house. So Mars has been traversing your 4th house of home, of how you were nurtured as a child, what you believe about yourself, and the viability based on your childhood experience of moving your story forward, your creative endeavors, Pisces rules photography, filmography. It rules poetry. It rules lyrics and song and so many beautiful creative things. And yet many times they have this sort of erosive energy where they don't allow that to be birthed except in private. So here I think this is about allowing yourself to be braver in that Aryan energy as you let Saturn put in some structure into your sense of self and birthing yourself out into the world, as you recognize that the 4th house energy is not an anchor, but rather just a piece of information that you now get to choose whether you want to marry yourself to that story or move more bravely into, as Mars moves into your 5th house of creativity, and that's Cancer, and it's self-nurturing, okay, nurturing your creative body, you could find yourself in a place where, as you spend a little bit of time nurturing your natural talents, the talents you may not even give yourself credit for. You may think, oh, that doesn't matter. It's too easy. Sometimes easy is good. Following that path, because I believe that Pisces is going through an amazing transformation right now of really anchoring in the mastery of what you know on a spiritual level, what you know on an inner being level, what your self-talk in the human apparatus versus your self-talk in your natural soul body. And as you become aware in the distinction of that, then you're going to be able to use that. This new moon is going to plant seeds that I think are going to last way longer than just 6 months, because you're examining through Jupiter and Chiron where the wounds have been and an opportunity to expand beyond them and to create wealth as a result of them. And wealth is not always just money. Wealth oftentimes is being able to receive happiness, being able to trust happiness, to be able to feel safe in our happiness and our viability, that all the material resources we need will be provided as we continue to pursue our dreams. Because that's why we're here, period. End of story. We're not here to learn lessons. We're not here to be taught something. And we're really not here to be of service to other people. Because when we express ourselves, we are naturally of service to other people. So I think there's something really powerful going on in a series of transits. They almost feel like they're creating a momentum. And rather than isolating each new moon or each full moon or isolating each transit, as we look at them as dominoes, that one thing affects another, we become very powerful in the direction of where that vibration goes. I hope that made sense. All right, everybody, that's it for this new moon. I will be... tomorrow is Sunday, March 19th. I will be doing my weekly live at 11 a.m. Pacific time. This is where we're going to get the angels' advice for traversing the transits. This is where I do readings with the tarot and my 2 other decks. And we go through each sign and we look at the transits for the week ahead. So I hope you will join me. And please subscribe, please like, please comment. I'm going to be producing a lot of content, and I want to produce content that really resonates with you as an individual. So if you've got any curiosities about things like the nodal structures, etc., put it in the comments. I'll take note of that when I'm preparing my videos for the future. So I hope that helps. All right, everybody, that's it for me for today. Peace out.